wanted to be. Last year and during the summer, we took you at face value when you were saying the things about your team, but like this week you've had a whole week off and you're playing opponents who were away from home in Europe on Thursday night. Isn't this exactly the kind of game that Manchester United should be able to step into?
In our club is the same thing, because last year we had to win every game all the time, and we took a lot of things, a lot of criticism, because we were not winning. So in our club there is no excuses. About Europe, I already talked about Europe, and I said the same thing last year when we were in Europe, and I say the same thing this year. The advantage and the disadvantage of not being in Europe. So there is no excuses. Last year or this year, we have always to win games.
Are you disappointed with where your team is now then, given...
I think if I look at the games, we should have more points. And because we had control of some games, we had the advantage in some games, and we lost that control. So if I look at our games, we should have more points, and that is really disappointed and really frustrating, especially the last game.
Hi Ruben. Obviously on Monday you see the disappointment in everyone's faces. How do you stop them getting too low and going into a tailspin and going back?
To start again was really tough. The week, as should be, was hard to this result, this defeat. But the process needs to continue, and we need to go for the next game, and we need to understand that, especially in our league this year, everything can change really fast. So let's go again and focus on the next one.
Will Mateus Cunha and Harry Maguire be available tomorrow? And what's the update with Sesko? Is it looking like next week maybe?
No, Sesko is going to take a little bit more time. Harry the same. I expect to have Mateus in the next one, not this one.
On Sesko, does that mean he's had a setback, or is it worse?
No. It's take a little bit longer. We are taking care of the injury.
Ruben, you mentioned after the game on Monday feeling similar to last year and being afraid of having similar feelings to last year. How much did that increase after the game, and do you think the players share that maybe nervousness that they could repeat last year?
Again, I think if you look at the game, I think we can play better. We could be better in the game, and with everything that happened in that game, we should have won that game. So we have to feel that urgency of winning games. We know what happened around the club if we don't win games. So if we know that, let's do everything in the right way. But again, we lost that one. We cannot change that. Let's focus on the next one.
Ruben, the away issues that United have faced, I think one away win in the last 11. What can you do to solve that? What are you doing to solve that? The same things that we need to do to show to the players why we lost control of Nottingham, why we lost control against Tottenham. And if you look at that games, we're there to win, and then sometimes a small detail can change everything. Then I felt during this year that when we play at home, the intensity was higher, and I felt in this game at home the intensity was not at the same level. So I think it's something that we need to work on. So it's hard to point one thing why we are not winning away. There's a lot of issues. We are improving. Like I said, we have advantage in the away games. We need to know how to finish the games in order to win.
James and then Samuel.
Ruben, obviously Pallace are a different club, different pressures and scrutiny to United, of course, but obviously Glasner's had a lot of success playing a similar system to you, and that's continued this season despite losing his best player in Eza. Do you look at what they've done and do you draw a lot of inspiration and encouragement from Pallace? And is one of the big differences is that their win backs obviously really settled? How big an impact can that
played
have?
a different way, and you can understand that by data, but now it's hard to explain everything. Like you said, it's a different club and they are doing things better than us,
So that is quite simple. But you don't say that all 4-3-3 play in the same way, right? What I'm saying, we play in the different moment. We defend in the different space. We try to attack in the different way. They are just doing the things better than us.
They can be very quick. The speed with which they attack. I just sort of wonder sometimes when you see, obviously like you play in a different way, but a similar setup in terms of formation, whether you ever take or draw ideas from things, thinking, oh, I quite like that, I don't like that.
I play against him in Frankfurt with Sporting, so I know the players. I take inspiration from everyone. When I have 2 weeks for national teams, I watch all the managers and try to take all the inspiration that I can take. I have 6 years as a manager, professional manager, so I'm always trying to learn to improve my team.
And finally, there's been obviously a lot of focus on like your central midfield and whether that'll be an area that you strengthen next season. Is the wing back area though, which is a fundamental part of your team, is that an area over the next 12 months that you want to explore?
I think we need time to improve the characteristics of the team. I said that in the last year, and to give an example, the last game we should have an Ahmad with the right foot to put on the other side to play against 10 men. So is this kind of characteristics that we will try to get to be a better team. So if we are at the perfect setup to play in this way, not yet. But like any other team, we need time to put the right characteristics in every single position to be prepared for everything.
Just on the wing back still, Ruben, I think Munoz and Mitchell are in the top 5 for most distance covered in the Premier League, and United's wing backs are quite a way down. Do you feel as though that those players are still having to develop to get those attacking instincts that you want to really become proper?
Maybe they play, I don't know how you read that data, maybe they play more games, more minutes, so you cannot compare the data. We make a lot of substitutions. Sometimes we change because we know that is a different position, or you want to change the feet with Allo and Patrick, and we change a lot. Sometimes we start with Ahmad in front, but most of the times, if we need to win the game, I put Ahmad on the right. Ahmad change position all the time, so that can change all the data, and you see different things. But again, they are doing the things really well. They play in more in transition than us. The opponents see it in the different way. So all these things we have to look when we compare teams. But of course, in every position we can do so much better.
The up and then against Everton on Monday night. Did you see that coming?
Yes. I said it last time I was on.
I'm giving you the floor. I'll set it up and you just got to,
Thank you very much. No, I mean, listen, sometimes it's a bit foolhardy to kind of sticking your neck on the block on the show, being beamed out to millions of people around the world. But I've just been unconvinced by Manchester United. They are the team, they used to be the team you could absolutely trust. Fergie time, it was never over till it was over. There was always the opportunity for them to score late on in games. Now they are the team you simply cannot trust. And the 5-match run of form that they'd been on before this match was totally illusory, because they were always giving teams opportunities to score. They were never, ever, and they have never been comfortable in this 3 at the back system. I know lots of people say it's not just a system, and fair enough. But the facts are that every team they play against will give them an opportunity to score. And defensively, Everton are far better than Manchester United are. That's why they lost that game. That's why I think they'll lose this game against Crystal Palace, who have the second best defensive record in the Premier League so far this season. Only 9 goals conceded, 3 more than Arsenal. You cannot tell me at Selhurst Park that United side are going to go there and win.
Yeah, you've already got your predictions in early. I'm so impressed with you today. It's unbelievable. In terms of Manchester United, they had opportunities, as we just saw there, but a lot of criticism is on the manager not changing things once Everton, were a player light.
I can't see why you would expect him to change things. He's set his stall out. It's been set out ever since he walked in the football club. He does what he does. Take it or leave it. That's pretty much his message.
Glenn, when you're a player in the dressing room and he is like that, does it frustrate you as players?
Depends if you fit that system. But no, I think... listen, when I get a look at Manchester United, the players they have, and we talk about international footballers here, so I find this hard to say, but they just don't suit that system. I don't think there's enough energy in the team. I don't think there's enough running ability in the middle of the park. I think when we talk about kind of, I think there was questions over were they back over that period of 5 games. And I watched them at Spurs a couple of weekends ago, and they were really, really poor. They went ahead in the game. They never had the kind of that mentality to be able to kill the game off. And Spurs obviously came back and they got a draw in the end, which showed character. But when I look at Manchester United, the biggest improvement for me with Manchester United is what they did in the transfer window. Yeah. They had a good transfer window. Cunha and Mbeumo, they're good profiles. They're proven Premier League players. They carry the ball. They run forward with purpose. Therefore, just takes that little bit of pressure off your defence that you see is weak. And I think that's the biggest difference. I don't think much has changed at Manchester United, and I think it's going to be another long season for them.
So more of the same from last season, just they have players who can score.
I think there'll be a slight upturn in last year. I mean, last year was terrible.
Yeah.
So it had to improve in some capacity, but do I think come the end of the season they'll be vying for Champions League places? I think that'll be a big ask for them.
Only one team has made a success in that top half of the table in terms of playing 3 at the back and going on to win silverware, Chelsea under Conte. That team is on a different planet to this Manchester United team. And I admire Amorim, this whole thing about principles. Man United are not going to be successful with him playing that way.
Yeah, well, Glenn's just said he doesn't think they'll be fighting for Champions League. To be fair, if they had won that game, they would have gone 2 points off Chelsea.
Yeah, and it would have papered up a lot of crack straws.
Yeah.
If you think, again, I keep referring to the defensive records of teams in that top 6, 7, but they are going to be key in the race for Champions League football. You cannot qualify for Champions League if you're conceding 2 goals a game. It just can't be done. And I think that's what the situation is with Manchester United at the moment. Every time, I cannot see a set of circumstances where Mateta doesn't get his knife and fork out at the weekend and actually tuck into that defence, because they will give him the opportunities to score, either aerially, on the deck. There'll be a lapse in concentration. As a striker, you surely look at this Manchester United side and say they don't have the discipline to last the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about when I played for Tony Pulis against Vidic and Ferdinand, that's like that's a different level as far as I'm concerned to this Manchester United back 5 now. But the only good thing for Manchester United is that Crystal Palace played away in Europe midweek, so they've got a small squad as well, so there's not much squad churn or turnover between midweek and the weekend. So that is the one positive going into the game, that Manchester United should have the upper hand when it comes to energy.
Yeah, just hearing that Manchester United in terms of numbers, I know this is your job, so just allow me for a second, that they have no clean sheets in 11 away from home and they've only won 1 in 11 on the road, and then to have to go to Crystal Palace, who've already set it up for us, all of it based on that fantastic defensive work from theirs. There's a system that's really working under a manager that's got them buying into his way of playing.
Oliver Glasner was a winner of the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt a few years back. I remember going to a semi-final. West Ham were playing against him. They totally outmanoeuvred West Ham. They were disciplined. They were clinical in front of goal. And it looks as though he's having a similar effect on this Crystal Palace team as well. Because when you look at those numbers, the win ratio at all of those clubs that he has been at. And, you know, Palace, when they were winners in the FA Cup, people turned around and said maybe it's a fluke. So they went and did it again in the Community Shield as well, just for good measure. He's improved every player.
Yeah.
I would argue you're a better barometer than me for that. But he is someone who looks to have good man management skills.
Yeah.
He's got a very clear plan. He's got players who buy into that plan. And you can see why at Crystal Palace they are battling to get him to commit his long-term future to the club. I don't think they will.
Yeah, but if you're saying that the players are buying in to him and what he wants to do, maybe he's waiting, and you'll correct me if you think I'm wrong, maybe he's waiting to see whether they will buy into what he wants to do, because, you know, he didn't enjoy the last transfer window. is very, very adamant about the Gahey situation, and you felt that could be a fork in the road between club and manager. And maybe that's what he's waiting for.
I think it's a really important point because Gahey will go. He will go, whether it's in January, whether it's next summer, he will go. So are you really going to commit yourself to a football club that is allowing its best players to walk out the door? Now, you might turn around and say, well, there's nothing he can do because it's Gahey's decision.
But the club situation.
That I agree. And listen, you've signed contracts at clubs. I would imagine there are things that you signing would have been contingent on. So you would know maybe what his thought process, relatively speaking, would be.
I think it's a really, really tough situation for Crystal Palace and Steve Parish to be in because he's an elite manager. He's proved that over and over again. I think there will be a slight kind of side to Oliver that wants a big club, a really big club, and so wherever that may be in Europe. And he obviously wants to kind of progress his own career personally. He's proven himself at Crystal Palace. He's proven himself in the Premier League, in the Bundesliga. What's next for him? Is he going to be backed? I probably think that Crystal Palace will struggle to match his ambition, especially when you take into consideration that Elise is left on his watch, that Eze is left on his watch, Mark Gay is going to leave on his watch. So ultimately, they are a selling club, and when you're a manager like him, you want to win as many things as you can.
I think he could manage Manchester United easily and improve them immeasurably. I think he could manage a Tottenham and improve them immeasurably. I think there are a number of clubs across Europe. I don't think Liverpool need a new manager.
Very nice
try.
Very nice try there, Glenn. Very nice try. Well, why don't we get to Oliver Glasner, because he was asked whether he would look to strengthen his squad in the January transfer window.
I think we need to. Ismaila also will leave us. So he's the only player who makes runs in behind from our taste, the profile. Yeah. So maybe, I think we just have to have this profile again, because also the other players on the bench, they are a different profile, and we need players to stretch the defense, and I hope that we will get it done.
AFCON, plenty of players. Manchester United losing 3 as well. So a big talking point across the Premier League. I want to talk about replacements, though, because they did, as you mentioned, lose Eze. And they are counting on Yeremy Pino to kind of fill that role, to play that role. I know he scored against Wolves. What have you made so far?
I think he's done quite well, in all honesty. I watched his first couple of games in the Premier League and he struggled to adapt to it. But I think since then, he's starting to find his feet. I mean, we can see this is early on in his tenure, just that missed opportunity, not quite getting there at the right times. It's right against Brighton here. Do you know what? I don't think we take into consideration how hard it is to adapt to this league. It is the fastest, most physically dominating league in Europe, week in, week out. And I think there's signs from him. That's quite a big sign, that one there. that he is starting to settle into the Premier League. And listen, ultimately, when he came in, he had Eze's boots to fill, and they're big boots to fill. And at the moment, that concoction between Mateta, Sarr and him, it's still working in some capacity. So for me, he's doing well. Yeah,
let's talk a little bit more about Mateta, because you can tell us more about what it's like to work under a manager who's suddenly got you scoring, who's suddenly, Mateta's a man transformed under him. It's well recorded and it's been talked about. But just tell us from the other side of it, from the player's perspective.
Well, there's that trust and that belief. And Jean-Philippe will know now that he can go 4 or 5 games without scoring a goal, and the manager's going to have his back. It might take him out of the team, might take the pressure off him, but ultimately he knows he's going to get back in. And
what does that do for you as a striker?
It's everything. I mean, I think when you're at his level and kind of the way that he's got him scoring goals in the Premier League first and foremost, he's got him into the French side. He's built the whole side around him. The way that kind of, like I mentioned, that concoction between Sarr and beyond, Eze or Pino being that kind of creator, and then it's all set up for you. It's so nice to know that you've got high fullbacks that are going to cross for you. Everyone on that field is set out to create for you, and there's a belief throughout the squad that you're the man. Everyone looks to him to score goals, and more often than not he does, and that's where that trust and that relationship from all angles of the pitch has come from.
Yeah, just looking at the bottom of your screen there, because it says that the Eagles have not won any Premier League match that has followed midweek UEFA Conference League match. That's what we talked about, the squad managing on both fronts. We're seeing it in a couple of other clubs in the Premier League so far this season. Looking at what's to come for them in all competitions, the next 9 games that they are to play, are they contenders for Champions League positions this season? What do you think, Darren?
I think they would be justified in setting their store quite high, because I think outside of the top 3, there's a lot of inconsistency in teams beyond them. But if you look at this list, including Manchester United, I think they would feel capable. Maybe City would be the one, but even City this season have shown themselves to be inconsistent. It's still a new team bedding itself in under Guardiola.
He's so good in press conferences, isn't he? He knows. He just knows exactly what to say. He's very, very, very good.
He diffuses things. That's why he's good in the press. Yeah. A lot of managers kind of just absorb it and then react. He can manoeuvre the press room a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, on the point that he's talking about there, they play 3-4-3, yes, but they play different systems, within it. Do you think though that Glasner is just getting more out of the 3-4-3 than Amorim?
Well, I can't speak highly enough of Glasner in terms of what he's done at Crystal Palace, because Crystal Palace traditionally are a 10th place team, in the Premier League, 10th, 12th, and that's really where they are. He's taken them above that. They won the Cup last year. His consistency of performance he gets out of individuals is unbelievable. But he does happen to have a good set of tools. The players he has are absolutely terrific in the positions he plays them. And that's the difference between Crystal Palace and Man United. They're really kind of nailed on their wing-backs. They are definite wing-backs. The 3 centre-backs play as 3 centre-backs should. Yeah. And the midfield has a nice balance to it, with Walton pulling the strings. So, I would make Crystal Palace heavy favourites in this game, even though Manchester United are coming to town.
Yeah. Roberto, looking back at the game against Everton, Man United fans were so frustrated with that. And they felt that there was that stubbornness. Everton go 10 men down, you want to see a manager attack, right?
Yeah, understandably so. I mean, if you're 11 v 10 and you're playing at home as well. So, but I've watched Amorim's team many times when he was at Sporting, out in Portugal, and he went there, and I think he lost 1 game in 18 months or something like that. So he's a very good manager. He's very well prepared. He's got a deep knowledge of the game, and he's come to United. And he hasn't really found his team yet. He keeps changing the personnel. It just doesn't seem to have found that connection as well with the fans, with the team. Yeah. But I'm not sure what the problem really is, because he's a fantastic manager. So he hasn't really clicked yet for Amorim in England, and it's difficult to see, what he's trying to do, because it just doesn't find the consistency in the results, and especially in the performances to get the results.
Yeah, he's been here a year now. It was 12 months when they played that Everton game. Did it shock you a little bit, Alan, watching it go at them?
I was surprised that that they didn't have certainly more chances and create more pressure. That's one thing that Manchester United have always done at home. They create pressure. They don't let you out as you try to absorb the pressure and find a release on a counter-attack. They snuff it out and come again and come again. They never got any kind of momentum like that. And they're against 10 men. And Everton's midfield were exceptional on the night. But it did show some kind of glaring deficiencies in Man United's midfield. Yeah. And it's particularly that lack of kind of energy. And I think he has some problems in the team. I think at the back they're not solid. I think in midfield they lack energy. I think at the top of the pitch they're actually quite good. But, there's a lot more football before you get to the front of the pitch. Yeah. And that's where they struggle.
Well, that's the thing. Obviously they spent so much money. There was so much expectation on them. Do you think, Roberto, there's that danger that potentially Ruben Amorim's kind of stubbornness, let's say, to stick to that formation could put him into hot water?
I don't think so, no, because I think the board or the people that make the decision at Man United, they recruited him and they backed him up, and he's only been there. Yeah, it's been there a year, but it's only a year. And if we look at, Arsenal is now top of the league. When I take that example, Arteta, the first 2-3 years, he really struggled to find the right players for the right system and so on and so on. So, it takes time. I know it's a cliche, but unfortunately, that's what it is. You can't just think that overnight you're gonna resolve all the problems that you have, and by changing a manager. So I think they should stick with him. They should give him the time. I know it's a big club, and United supporters and fans all around the world, they expect more. The last game was not very good. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
But in general, I think you can see that there is progress. I think you can see that they are going in the better direction, in the direction that the manager wants them to go. And the manager is stubborn. I don't think that's actually a negative aspect of a character of a manager, because he sticks to his guns. That's what I know. That's what I do best. And he's proven it in Portugal as well.
Yeah.
And I like the honesty he has in the press conference. Sometimes you get criticized because you don't say enough, or you don't say the truth. He speaks the truth. He says exactly how it is, and I like that.
Yeah. He's very good in those press conferences, as we say. Well, look, we're approaching crunch time in Jean-Philippe Mateta's future now. His current deal has 18 months to run, and there have been no talks with Pallace about a new one. Whatever happens with Mateta, his boss Oliver Glasner wants reinforcements up front.
I think we need to. Ismaila also will leave us. So he's the only player who makes runs in behind from our taste, the profile. I think we just have to have this profile again, because also the other players on the bench, they are a different profile, and we need players to stretch the defense, and I hope that we will get it done.
It's interesting how keen Glasner is to get some reinforcements in. Understandably, he's going to lose Sarr to AFCON, etc. But how important is it to keep Mateta, I'm going to say, Alan? Because if you look at it in terms of stats, right, especially this season, of all the players in the Premier League who have scored 5 goals or more, Mateta is the only one to be underperforming his expected goals. And what have you made of his performances this season?
Well, firstly, let's say, as a striker, I like him because of his presence and everything else. But his personality kind of overrides everything. He's really loved by the fan base and loved by the team. He's just got that way about him that kind of attracts attention. He's like a Disney character as a centre forward. But he does miss chances, and he's expected goal. That doesn't shock me. He's always missed chances at Crystal Palace. When he first arrived, actually, he was really disappointing, massively disappointing to a degree. And then he started finding some confidence, started getting some goals, but he still misses big chances. And I think Palace will do a new deal with him. I think it'd be good for Palace to keep him, and I think it's good for him actually to stay where he is. I think he's performing very, very well there, and he's perfect for the way they play. He's such a huge presence that you can feed off him. And if you look at his lack of goals, you could say, okay, that's an issue, but all the other things that he does for the team are very important.
Yeah, Roberto, do you think it's tough with a player like Mateta, because as Alan said, great guy, but it still does get some fantastic goals, helps with how they play, but then Oliver Glasner might have that pressure from the board being like, well, he's underperforming and we don't know whether or not to give him his contract. As a manager, do you feel like you need to step in at that point and say, keep him?
Well, my understanding is that everybody would like for him to stay there, and the manager as well, so I'm not sure. I don't think that's an issue right now, but as a manager, you're happy if your striker is scoring, if you're sitting comfortably in the table as well, so you're quite happy. And yes, he does miss big chances, absolutely, but I agree that it suits the way the team plays, it suits his style, and he must be in a nice environment, a good environment, and I think he still has some margin to improve as well, and he might become a better scorer, he might convert more of the chances they create, on a daily basis, training, coaching him on the training ground and so on. He can still improve that part of the game, but I think he fits Crystal Palace very good.
Yeah, absolutely. They are such a a fantastic team to watch. I think, you know, whenever a Palace game is on Sky, it's always a great event, and the football they play is fantastic, as you mentioned, Alan. But do you fear for Palace fans? Because they kind of always feel like they're looking at a mass exodus. It's always a player that looks like to be going. Obviously, they lost Elise, then Eze, and, you know, talk about Mateta, Gay, Wharton, even the manager, even Glasner. I mean, do you fear for them?
I feel I fear for them losing the manager, because, you know, with my managerial and coaching hat on, I would say they're the best prepared and best organised team in the Premier League. I mean, that's how good he is, and his contract is up in the summer, so they have got a problem with the manager, and I think that pressure he's putting in the press conference there about new players is more or less saying, you need to give me some players, you know, otherwise.
Yeah.
And that is a tool that he's earned the right to use, by the way. Crystal Palace are used to losing great players. We lost Ian Wright, we lost Zaha, Elise, as you said, and Eze. And that's part of the process at Crystal Palace. What they've done really well in the last 2-3 years is recruited again, and recruited well. And that's what they've got to continue to do. Like